Welcome to another episode of Workish. Are you excited to record a podcast?
Yeah.
Have you ever recorded a podcast before?
No.
Have you ever seen yourself in an hour-long video before?
No.
No? It's really weird.
Yeah.
I watched a video of myself giving a presentation a while ago for the first time, like the full hour video, and watching my facial expressions through an entire hour of time makes me think I genuinely don't recognize myself. Because all I ever see is pictures of like myself posed in specific ways or whatever, or if I were to record like a TikTok video, like it's only a couple minutes, so it's very easy to kind of keep like your happy face on or whatever.
Yeah.
But when you actually watch an entire hour of yourself, you're like, I didn't know that my face did that. It's interesting. So, but I think that most people that are recording these episodes are in the same place. They're like, I've never seen an hour-long video of myself. And I just watched my first solo episode. I don't know if I want to watch any of them ever again. Like, I actually just think I'm going to record and move on. But why don't you introduce yourself to everybody? This is
Corey Thompson.
Corey Thompson.
Do I look that way?
And you can look that way. You can look at them. You can look at me. You can look at Charlie. Whatever you want. And who are you, Corey Thompson?
A retired, somewhat kind of professional wakeboarder. I ride sports bikes, drift cars, and adrenaline stuff.
Adrenaline junkie?
Yeah.
I like that. I was curious how you were going to describe yourself, because everybody that works a very typical job has like a title, but you don't have a title yet, which is kind of fun. Do you like that? Or do you, like when you were a student, you were like, I'm a student, I'm a wakeboarder. Now you're kind of in this like in-between phase. Do you enjoy I'm still trying to figure out what I want that title to be? Or did you like the solidification? What's the right word there? I don't know. Of like, I am a student.
Could you repeat the question?
Never mind. We'll move on. So take me back to where things started for you. Where did your journey begin, in your opinion?
I would say my journey begun with my head injuries. Most of them were through wakeboarding. I have 12 concussions. And
oh my gosh.
Yeah.
That's actually insane. 12 is so many.
Yeah.
Okay, so do you think that your journey began with the concussions, or do you think that your journey began with the sports that led to the concussions?
Journey definitely began with the sport that led to the concussions, 100%.
Okay, so tell me about what those were.
Doing flips on the hard plastic features incorrectly and hitting your head very hard.
Okay, so yes, it was that. It was wakeboarding.
Yeah.
You had wakeboarded for how long prior to that trick?
The incident where I've been wakeboarding for probably about 2 years before I had a huge accident where I flipped onto a rail and I don't even know what happened. Just flipped completely wrong and ended up hitting my head super hard. I had 3 contusions, 2 brain bleeds, a bruised lung, and a laceration on my left eye.
That was probably one of the scariest moments of my life, to be honest with you. I imagine it might be for you or it might not be for you. I don't know. You've done a lot of things. But being on the other side of that, I was the summer camp manager at this time, and I was on site when this happened, and we were really close when this happened.
Yeah.
And I thought you were gonna die. Oh my gosh. Oh no, it was actually insane. They had just put a new feature in the water, and you were bold, and decided to go and try an insane trick on it. Do you regret it?
No.
No? Why? Tell me about that.
Well, actually, yes. So no, because it was kind of cool, and I don't know, but I do regret it because of the concussions. Like over time, you like realize like they actually do put damage into like everyday things that you do. Like you don't. I don't want to say like think like everyone else, but like
It's affected your
Yeah,
brain to some
yeah.
capacity. So because it got put in and you went out and you did it really early. You did it really fast.
Yeah.
Would you, if you could go back, would you say to your younger self, Corey, like, take a couple extra laps on this? Like, let's put a little additional thought into it? Or do you think at that moment in time, you wouldn't even have listened to your future self and you would have been like, go away?
I probably wouldn't have listened.
No. Okay, why?
I don't know, because I want to do it. Like if I want to do something, like I'm probably just gonna do it. You know, like if it's a wakeboard trick and it's something that like I want to do, I'll do it.
Okay.
You know.
Okay, fair enough.
If I see the reward bigger than the risk, then I'll go for it.
The reward is bigger than the risk, and then you'll go for it. I think that's a really good way to sum up your entire life. But we'll dive into that. So you wouldn't have listened to yourself. How does that affect you now? And normally I don't dive as deeply into specific things because there's a very long path to work through and we just kind of speed through a lot of the stuff early on. But I think that this was probably a really interesting thing because lots of people, and this is for older generations to learn how to communicate with younger generations, lots of people who are older will look at kids and go like, that's the stupidest thing you could possibly do. And I know that because I've been through it, or I know that because I've seen enough people go through it.
Yeah.
But as a teenager, because how old were you when this happened? 15?
15.
So, but as a teenager, you're like, I don't care. I need to learn it for myself and I need to go through it.
Yeah.
So how does that affect you now, a couple years later, going, okay, I probably had a couple people tell me that this was a bad idea. And now I know that I maybe should have listened to them at this time. So how does that play into like other aspects of your life? Are you still very much in the, I really need to learn it for myself and I'm just going to kind of keep fumbling forward until I get there? Or are you in the, okay, I can take this lesson and be like, maybe I should listen to some other people, and trying to kind of like gain guidance through different decisions? Does that make sense?
Yeah, most of the things I try and do it by myself because I like doing things by myself, learning it by myself. If I need help, like I'll ask for it, look for it, use the internet. But everything I I try and do on my own.
That makes sense. Most Gen Zs are really, really independent because millennials, people who are older than us, were raised in like a very team dynamic. Like, I want to work in a group and collaborate with other people, and they were very, very team oriented. But I think that because Gen Z was born into a time where technology was at their fingertips, I have hair on my face. They have been able to be very self-dependent and self-motivated and self-driven since the time that they were kids because they had the like education at their disposal.
Yeah.
And so I think that most Gen Zs are very independently driven and they don't love to collaborate with other people very frequently. So that makes sense. Okay, so your accident happened. What happened after that?
I got another head injury. Wakeboarding again. I split my chin open. I hit my chin on a rail really hard. I caught a front edge, and then I came down and my chin hit a rail. And I split my chin open. I bit my tongue. I had imprints of all my teeth around my tongue. I had the side of my tongue on the top, the bottom of my tongue on the bottom, and then the side of my tongue on the bottom, completely split open.
Oh, yeah.
I was knocked out in the water, face up. I had a friend told me he was riding by when he came to help me out and get me out of the water. He told me my mouth was just filled with blood, coming out. Yeah.
Yeah. So at this point, you've gotten hurt aggressively a couple times.
Oh yeah.
Was there anything in you that was like, I have to stop doing this?
Absolutely not.
Why?
I don't know. It's just the drive for it. You wanna? I don't know. I just like doing cool stuff. I feel like that's something that's pretty awesome.
Do you feel unique in that? Are you I have an inherent ability to just
take fear out of
the equation?
Yeah.
That could go so well in so many places, so horribly in so many other places. That gives me so much hope and so much fear for you at the exact same time, Corey. Okay, so you had another accident. What happens after this? You're a high school student at this point? You're 16 now?
I'm 16. I'm in 10th grade right now.
Okay.
And then...
So you had 2 accidents
that
were really bad. You were in the hospital for some of it. And kind of coming out of that. How far apart were they?
So when I was 15, when I got into that accident, I couldn't ride for, I think, 3.5 months after the accident. So...
And after that, you came back and claimed the trick.
Yes. A year later, I landed the trick.
What was that like? What was your mindset there? I want to go back and do this thing that nearly killed me.
I don't know. I thought it was just kind of dumb that I felt like that.
Okay.
I just felt like it was a lot easier than what it was, and I just...
So you were counting it as a fluke. You were like, that was ridiculous. I should have landed that. I have to go back and do it.
Not should have landed that, but shouldn't have landed like that. It shouldn't have ended up that way.
Fair enough. Okay. Okay.
That's just not where my mind was set.
Okay.
But, I mean, the odds of it happening twice, I don't know how great they are, but apparently now it's 50% because I landed it.
Okay. So you went back and you claimed it. And then how long was it until you got your next accident?
It was probably 5 months later because I had that break and then I was just getting back into it. Okay.
So then post your second accident, what happens? What happens next?
This was probably not the best moment I've had, but I ended up going to Juvie for some teenage things.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay. Tell me just what you're comfortable with, because this is obviously very personal in your life, but about the mindset that you had prior to getting in trouble. What were you thinking about in this stage of your life?
While I'm in Juvie?
No, prior to when you even got in trouble, prior to when you had issues and you were just kind of
just what led to it.
Yeah.
Say that one more time.
So the mentality that you had, where your brain was, what was going on internally before you got in trouble? Like, what were you chasing? Were you chasing a high? Did you just want to have fun? Were you...
I did have mental health issues, so I was kind of like all everywhere with that. Like I've had them for a while, and it actually helped me push through them. But they're gone now. Like they're not here. But that would just make me, I guess, do things that as normal people wouldn't do. I don't know.
Fair
Like
enough.
that doesn't
No,
sound right at all.
that's reasonable. I think as people deal with mental health, it's very safe to say that they're in a different place than they normally would be, and
Yeah.
they are led to make decisions differently than they typically would.
Yeah.
And if you take a mental health problem and you pair it with multiple brain injuries back to back,
Yeah.
It can be a challenge.
Doesn't mix well.
And for a 16-year-old boy too,
Yeah.
like realistically, you're not only trying to figure out your life and who you are and your identity, but you're also doing it with a bruised brain.
Yeah.
And like that's hard and that's challenging. So that's kind of what you were going through before that happened. And I appreciate you sharing that, because you definitely didn't need to be that vulnerable. But that's, I think, a really good thing for people who are of different generations to remember, is that not only is a Gen Z's brain still developing,
Yeah.
because I don't know how old. I could ask the robot in the back. I do that way too frequently. I just like go, "Hey Alexa," but I think that your brain continues to develop when you're a man until you're 27, 28, something like that. Like it's your prefrontal cortex that's not fully developed until like your late 20s as a guy, and girls develop, I think, 3 or 4 years earlier. But okay, so all Gen Z's brains, because they're typically 27 right now, let's say, are still developing.
Yeah.
And so it's good to remember when you look at this next generation who's coming into the workforce, not only do they have lots of experiences that they're yet to have and yet to learn from, like they're still like literally developing.
Yeah.
And so it's just important to remember to approach these things with grace and love and an open heart, and just like let me learn about where you were, rather than coming at it with judgments, because you just don't necessarily understand where that person was. So okay, so
Yeah.
so you come to a place where you end up in Juvie.
Yeah.
Tell me a little bit about the mindset, where you were at mentally while you were there. You were there for 2 days?
I was there for 2 days. Even like, yeah, I've only been there for 2 days, but it definitely changes you. You definitely like feel something. You like soak in from the environment around you.
In a good way or in a bad way?
In a bad way. Like you have all these people around you, you know, like, sure, like I didn't do anything like that bad. Like I didn't do anything that bad,
Yeah.
you know? But
Yeah.
like there's people in here that could have been doing things like a lot worse, like whatever. And like they're all in there.
Mm-hmm.
So it's like you kind of soak off them, just like them talking, yelling, like everything.
Mm-hmm. Like it really. And did it change the way that you were behaving? Did it change the way that you were thinking? Did it change like what how did that affect you?
It didn't really affect me. Like I'm a socially awkward person, so like I mean, I'd be socially awkward, but like it wouldn't change who I am. Like,
Okay.
Yeah.
So it was just an annoyance, a frustration to be surrounded by it. It wasn't like.
I was annoyed that I went there, yes, but I'm also glad it happened because I didn't want to keep continuing down that path.
Okay, tell me about that.
Like I mentioned earlier, I went to Juvie and I said I would never go there again. Like I will never be there again. That was kind of my point where I was like, all right, like I had to turn stuff around. I need to start like putting work in. So at this point, I'm probably around the beginning of 11th grade.
Okay.
Maybe, yeah. I think like 11th grade is like just starting. It was like over summer and everything. Um, I was going into 11th grade and I was trying to get out of school early, like drop classes. So I only have like five periods. So I have 5 periods in junior year, 5 periods in senior year, and then or 5 periods junior year, and then 3 periods senior year.
Okay.
And they were telling me like, oh, you can't do that, like whatever, like your score or something isn't high enough. And I was like, okay. So I ended up taking 13 classes my junior year. I needed like 8 credits, but there was half credits. It ended up being 13 classes during my junior year. Could have been more credits. I don't really know. But
Okay.
I had a job at the time too, so I was doing 13 classes in school and had a job every day but Sunday, and I worked 38 to 42 hours a week.
Okay. So
So
your 10th grade year and your 11th grade year were polar opposites.
yeah,
Your 10th grade year, you were
D's and C's, 11th grades, C's, B's, A's.
okay. But not only that, like you were in a sport trying to push really hard in that way.
Still wakeboarding.
You
At
were
this
still
time, I
wakeboarding
was
in 11th grade?
open men and pro men. So this is when I was competing professionally.
Okay. So was the Juvie moment the light bulb moment that like made you grow up?
Yeah,
Or
because I would say I would hit it like being being an adult like earlier than everyone else. Because like I'm 16, like everyone I know is 16. Like I'm 2 years ahead of them now. Because like things that would happen to you if you were 18 versus like a minor,
mm-hmm,
they're a lot different.
mm-hmm.
So it's like now that I am 18, it's like I can't do anything that I've been doing before. Like I really need to change my stuff around.
Okay. So are you thankful? Because I think that it's really hard for parents to see kids, and I went through a very different but similar kind of experience where I was in 10th grade acting out against my parents, making some decisions that they wouldn't want me to make for myself. And I had a crisis of conscious moment where I was like, I need to pull myself together and figure it out. And this isn't it. And I pivoted in 11th grade. So very similar to what you're talking about. Um, do you think that had you not gone to juvie, you would have been able to have that light bulb moment as well still? Or do you think that you needed the
I think if I didn't go to
intenseness of juvie to really like shift that for you?
the intenseness of juvie and understanding, like if you do bad stuff, like what can happen, like the understanding of that, like it can be scary. Completely forgot what I was gonna say.
That's okay. Was that what you needed though, or would you have been able to have that without a law of sort getting involved?
Um, well, I mean, through school they don't teach you anything about law, like anything about really life. Like everything's just
Fact.
I don't know. I think school's useless. I don't think classes like really mean anything. At least in like grade school, like college, like yeah, because you're actually like learning stuff. But
Well, we'll get more into that in a little while.
okay,
Um, so you needed that then. You
yeah,
needed it to be okay. Are you glad that it happened when you were 16? Because sorry, I was going somewhere with that. I think lots of parents can see their like 15-year-olds and go, they're so young. I can't believe they're already starting to do this stuff. But in some ways, that's actually a little bit of a blessing because your child is experiencing it. Well, yes, premature. They're also going to experience the ramifications of it prematurely, which isn't going to affect their 18 plus year old life, because it does get wiped at 18.
Yeah.
So are you glad that it happened when you were a kid, or do you think that it would have been, like, do you think that things would have been different in some way, shape, or form if you had like lasted as a kid a little bit longer, if that makes sense?
No, I'm glad it happened when it happened.
Yeah.
It was probably the good time for it.
Yeah. I am too in my own life personally. So, but I think that lots of parents are like, they're just a baby.
Yeah.
And it's like, yeah, but also it might suck for you as their parent to be like, it's just your baby, but also like it's their life. And so for them to experiencing it earlier, both you and I to have better experiences with having it earlier, I think that that's a hard pill for parents to swallow. Pill for parents to swallow. Why was that so hard to say? I think that's a hard pill for parents to swallow, but I think that it can be good.
Yeah.
Okay, so you're in 11th grade, you're working 35 to 40 hours a week, you're in classes full time. What year was this? Was this pre or post COVID?
This was after COVID.
When did COVID hit in your life? How old were you? 2019.
13.
You were 13.
Possibly.
No, there's
literally
thinking. No way.
I think 15.
How old are you now? 15 makes much more sense. Oh, that's actually so interesting. So COVID was happening while all of the shit.
COVID happened after my injury, later on through the year.
COVID happened after your injury. Do you think that COVID had a play into your mental health? Because that's when you were. Am I lining that up right? Sorry to say that so casually.
No, yeah.
But I think that COVID had a really large effect on so many people's mental health. Do you think that that was part of the spiral?
Yeah. During that time, like during COVID, like we were on online school, people weren't going to school. So that made an environment where you're at home. I already didn't like school, and now I'm in bed doing school. Like, how do you think that's going to go? So I would fall asleep. Like, I would never do my school because I would always be sleeping. I couldn't keep myself awake. I never bothered to go to a chair or anything because I, really didn't care to do it. And I ended up flipping my sleep schedule around. I was waking up probably at 8 o'clock at night, and I'd go to bed at 7 or 6 in the morning.
Oh my gosh.
And that was a really, really big downfall.
Yeah. I mean, talk about nothing good happens after 2 a.m. If your entire life was happening after 2 a.m., that's...
But this was...
setting it up for not the best.
Yeah.
That's harsh. Yeah. Yeah. Wow. I never know that I had pieced all of that together. COVID had such a large effect on so many people's life. Do you think if you were still in school, like if COVID had never happened, do you think that things would have played out the same way that they did? Like if you were forced to go to school every single day, you never had your sleep schedule flipped, you had to keep doing what you were doing, do you think you would have ended up in that 11th grade more grown up mindset sooner? Or do you think that that was why you got there sooner?
I'm honestly glad that happened, at the time it happened.
Okay. Because of the same reason that we just talked about, because it escalated everything and it made it happen faster.
Yeah.
Wow, very interesting. I love understanding how COVID affected different people because I think that everybody had such a different experience with it. But okay, so 11th grade is coming to an end, senior year. What happens?
So at this point, I'm waiting to pass the reading test. Okay. So all my courses are done. Junior year is over. Senior year has now started. They gave me classes. First 2 weeks, I went to two of the 4.
Because you had already finished all the credits you needed.
Yeah. So I just, there was 2 teachers that I had the prior year that they gave me this year. So I just went to, those teachers, and I didn't go to the other periods. I just went home. At this point, I was only in school for the test to take. So, I talked to a couple guidance people, and they said that I'm okay to leave Like, whenever I don't have to come, like, I can only come in for the test, like, that's fine. But I ended up actually going to school because I heard about something called day trading. And I would go to school and I looked it up and I started paper trading. So it's fake money and it's just like betting on stocks if they're going up or down.
Mm-hmm.
And I would do that. I would wake up in the morning. I would get to school at like 8:20, something like that. I would sit there for 2 hours. I would trade and then I would leave. So it's like I'm not in school, but at least I'm doing something. And then usually after I would do that, I would go to work. I worked at a pizza place called the Pizza Press. I was a prep cook.
Mm-hmm.
And yeah.
Okay. So then you take the test, you finish, you're graduated.
Okay, here's a funny thing. I actually really never passed the test. I don't really know if I can say it like that. It was either like 13, 14, something like that, like a lot of tests throughout the school year. And I didn't pass a single one of these, right? And this is when I like say like the concussion has play in like what I do. Like these tests, I actually studied for. Like I actually tried on these. And every time I would take it, it would go lower, it would go lower, it would go up, but it wouldn't beat like the previous high one. All the way by the end of the year, I still didn't pass it. The test I took the year before had like a certain score on it and they dropped the requirement, so the last score from the past year made it.
Oh.
Yeah. Because there was a whole bunch of people that weren't passing the reading,
writing, whatever it is. Huh. That's really interesting. That's so lame because then your entire year could have just been given back to you. But you made it work for you and you were paper trading, whatever.
Yeah.
So you graduate. What happens? Do you apply to colleges? Do you apply to schools? Do you stay home? Do you pursue a sport? Where do you go from here?
So before I graduated, when I still worked at the pizza place, I was leaving my shift and one of my friends was going in to start his shift. And I went and I sat in his car with him for a little bit before he went inside. And we started talking. We ended up getting in a deep conversation about a pressure washing business that we wanted to start. And we went through with it. We both ended up quitting that day. And okay, well, the owners and everything, like, they were getting mad at me because I'm a prep cook, right? I'm supposed to cook food. Like, yeah, I'm supposed to do what they say. I'm their boss, like, of course. But I'm a prep cook. And they're having me do, like, everyone else's jobs because I'm, like, getting my stuff done so fast. So there's, like, more people just sitting around. And they're telling me, like, they were just getting mad at me over nothing, pretty much. Like, I was doing my job, doing everything, like, and they were telling me, like, hey, if you don't, like, get your stuff together, like, you're getting fired. And I was like, this was the prior day.
Okay.
So then this day after,
what did they mean by stuff together? Like, what were they asking you to do?
I don't know. So at that point in time, one of the managers was getting moved into a different restaurant, and I was going to take that position. So I don't know what they were doing, but they were pushing me. I don't know if they were mad at me, like, because one of them was getting moved and one was staying there. And these two managers were like best friends. So I don't know if they were mad at me, like just annoyed. I wasn't sure. So I was just like, hey, like, I'm leaving. Like, you guys got it. Like,
wow. Was it from a hiring perspective? I could guesstimate what happened. It sounded like corporate made the two best friends split up and leave. They saw that you were taking initiative in the back. So not the people who were mean to you, but above them.
Yeah.
They saw that you were taking initiative in the back, doing your job and trying to help in other places. Then they moved that other manager, pulled you up into the management position, but then they were going to. Yeah, but then the person that you were going to be managing with and the person that they moved were pissed that they weren't together and wanted to get you out so they didn't have to be apart.
Yeah.
That's what it sounds like to me. That's so crappy.
Yeah.
That's so crappy. I'm so sorry to hear that. So, but you decide that you want to start your own business.
Yes.
Because all of this is going on.
So Me and my friend, we started a pressure washing business. We pushed through it like we were going pretty good for probably the first month and a half, and then everything started to die down. We weren't like kicking up as much. My friend that was with me ended up getting a job, like going back. I think he does insurance. I'm not 100% sure, but I think that's what he does. Um, but now I've brought it back. I have 5 contracts a month, so 5 pressure washing days. I do window cleaning, I do chair restoration, um, pressure washing, obviously, and yeah.
And that's it. So, what are your hopes now with it? Do you want to do it for a year and then sell it? Do you want to turn it into your career and make a living out of it for the rest of your life? Like, what's your goal?
My
with
goal is to build it to a point where I don't have to be there to run it, so it's just passive income.
That's everybody's goal.
Oh, yeah.
That's everyone's goal. I think that so many people think that they want to do that, and then they get so involved in the day-by-day operations, and it can be really hard when you're trying to transition out of it, because so often the business is revolved around you and the relationships that you have and the connections that you make and the technique that you carry out when you're doing stuff and the service that you specifically offer. And so sometimes, like, as you're trying to transition it to other people, it can be really challenging. Do you want to do that in like a year, 5 years, 10 years? Do you have any idea what that looks like, or not really?
The goal to have this pressure washing business set up and like kind of finished to the point where I don't really like need to move around much with it to have passive income. I want to have this like done by 25.
By 25. And you're how old right now?
I'm 18.
You're 18.
Yeah.
How are you going to do it?
Just a lot of hard work.
I mean, I love the goal, aspiration, desire, hope. A lot of hard work. What does that mean?
You gotta put in time. Like, you can't be lazy. Like, if you want something, you gotta work for it. It's not gonna get given to you.
Yeah, I would absolutely agree with that. So what does that mean for you, though? Like, you've proved that you can work really hard. You had your years in high school where you were putting in all your credits and all your working hours. Are you trying to run at it like 90 hours a week? You're out making sales and dropping off flyers and trying to do that? Do you have like I don't know.
So
what do you want to do?
I'm at that point where I'm saying, like, you have to like do stuff like in order for you to get a return out of things. But I've hit a roadblock recently. My car broke, and this has been like just recent. Like, it's been like I think 2 weeks. I've taken apart my steering column, and taken.
Got you.
I've taken I've taken apart my steering column to fix a little wiggle that it has. Chevy, like in the old cars, they have these tilt pins for your steering wheel, so they stay like up, so they don't wiggle. And I thought that's what it was, so I started taking it apart. My steering wheel, keep in mind, I can go like this with it. Like, I can.
That's scary.
Right. I ended up having to go all the way down into the steering column, and there's the ball joint. After this ball joint, you take this ball joint off. There's a piece here that has 4 bolts that go into it. That goes into a plate that locks in right below it, and that keeps everything still. So I pulled this plate that's supposed to be right here with full bolts, like bolted into it, is 8 inches down my steering column. Like, I had to get a screwdriver, poke it, drag it back up, and just hold it. It's super annoying. Got it bolted back in, started putting everything back together, and now I have an electrical issue.
That's not good.
not super fun.
So will you try to handle the electrical issue yourself, or will you take it in somewhere? Would you ever take your car somewhere to get it fixed?
It depends on what it is. I haven't opened my engine yet. I've done like, how do I say that? I've done like body work on my car.
Okay. But the mechanical side, not as much.
Not as, I mean, I can replace like, what is it? Alternators, AC
I was gonna say oil.
AC units, oil, coolant.
I can't even change my own oil. So, do you like that stuff? Like, does the car body shop stuff really interest you, or is it just
I like it as a hobby.
Did that come to be because you just had to, because you had a car that you had to fix, or did you love it and get a car to fix because it was your hobby?
Well, I didn't want to fix it at first because, like I was, geez, when I bought this car, I was like just turning 17. Like I had my previous car that I should have kept for like a year, and then I got
the new one.
Yeah.
The very, very, very old, new to you car. Okay. Let me ask you a question then. It seems like you really like cars and the body shop and the hobby. Would you ever want to take that and turn it into a career of sorts, a job of sorts?
I wouldn't, because I keep car side of things as a hobby. Like if I didn't have to work on the car, like
you wouldn't want to.
I probably wouldn't. Like
okay.
If I had someone to fix it, like I would probably just not fix it.
Okay.
Let them do it.
How did you learn to do it all? Trial and error, YouTube?
I do get asked that. But I have a friend who, like, super smart in school. Like, right now he has a house. He had that wealth though from his parents, so they kind of helped him out. But he did pay like a majority of that money, so he has a house right now.
He's your age?
Yeah, he's my age. He's 18. He's got. I think he's got 4 cars right now. I don't know. Like he's him, but he's super smart. I would hang out with him a lot when I was younger, and he would always tell me, he would just be like, just look it up. Look up like the question you have, and it'll tell you. Like we have
like,
the
just
internet.
Look it up.
Yeah. Because his dad, like his dad wouldn't tell him answers. He would go to his dad, like, hey, this, that, like whatever, and his dad would just say, like, look it up. Like you're not gonna learn if I show you, so you just gotta like learn on your own. So he kind of like picked up, like, okay, that's just how people like learn. So he's telling me to like try and learn the way that he learned.
Do you think that that's applicable across everything, or do you think that that's just kind of in cars? Like if you day trading, paper trading, like these sort of things, school didn't teach you that. Was that just you saying, I'm just gonna look it up and figure it out?
I feel like it kind of depends.
Okay.
Like looking it up and figuring it out, like yes, that can work like most of the time. But like if I'm trying to learn something, I like hands-on. Like I like someone to show me how to do something. Like I don't like someone telling me, texting me, telling me to look it up. Like I like them showing me, like helping me out with it.
Tangible.
Yeah.
Okay. But would you rather go say, okay, so let's say, just because it's an easy example, you wanted to be a mechanic. What's the like certification for that? Is there a certification for that? An internship for that? I don't know. I don't know how you become like a legitimate mechanic or how the credibility works there. But let's say you wanted to do that. Would you rather, I'm going to give you 3 situations. Would you rather go to school in a classroom with 20 people and all learn together, go to an internship where you got to sit and work with one person who was your mentor who would teach you, or get a car yourself and let's say they all 3 of them had the same credibility, but get a car yourself and get like an at-home education set where you can teach yourself, but you still get the hands-on because you're still doing it. Does that make sense? The mentor, the middle option.
Yeah.
I think that's what I would choose too.
Because it's like having someone who knows so much about something there. It's like, okay, I could look it up, but I don't know what I am looking up to fix this. Like, this answer I'm trying to find, like, he had.
Mm-hmm.
But, like, he had to learn the hard way, so I feel like that's how he kind of, like, pointed it to me. He's like...
So help me understand how you wanting in your career life a mentor to speak down and talk to you and teach you and guide you through it is different from in your personal life. When we were talking about Juvie earlier and like the kind of craziness that was, you had mentioned that you, even if you could go back to the past Corey yourself, the past Corey wouldn't have accepted or learned from those lessons. They would have, like, you still would have made the same choices.
Mm-hmm.
Is that the same today in your personal life and your work life? You would accept the mentoring, or is it the split of like in your personal life you like to make those decisions for yourself, and in your work life you're open to see the guidance? Is it more like I was naive and now I have grown, or is it at work I like guidance, but in my personal life I still like to be the captain of my own decisions?
I'm kind of thinking now that there's like kind of both. Like,
okay, that's reasonable.
So it's like working on my car, like I want to do everything I can to fix it. Like right now I hit a roadblock. I can't do anything. This is the part where I'd probably reach out for help, you know, because I'm stuck. I don't know what to do.
Okay.
I'm not great with electrical, so like...
Okay, so you're saying like the mentor there comes into play not through your day by day, not through your normality of education, but when you hit the roadblock. Yeah. You're like, when it hits the fan, I want to know that I have someone to reach out to that I trust.
Yeah.
So that makes sense.
Someone that I could ask a question, like, help me get something done, find the answer.
But still independently driven.
Yeah.
Okay, that makes perfect sense. I mean, I think that's so average for most Gen Zs. I think that most Gen Zs would prefer that method, because that's how I would prefer it. It's like, please let me run at this myself, but like, just be there for when I need you.
Yeah.
So, okay. I think we'll come to a spot where we're going to wrap it off, because we are at your present day, your current life. We've talked about your dreams, your goals. If anyone in Orlando needs pressure washing, they know who to call. But I want to talk a little bit about the concept of you're only young once. Because I think a lot of people look at Gen Z and they're like, they're just young, dumb kids, and they're just learning along the way. Do you think it's really, really important that kids have the space to make those decisions? And when do you think is the right spot for that? Like now,
for what kind of decision?
Like you made the choice to be a wakeboarder. That was your choice.
Yeah.
Your parents didn't force you into that. You made the choice to get a job and work 40 hours a week. You made the choice to do basically everything in your journey. Do you think that it was good that you had the autonomy to make those decisions? Or do you think that parents and or like bosses should be more involved in that? Like more, no, this is what you're doing, and tell them, because you're only young once, and so you only have an opportunity to make those stupid choices one time. Or do you think that that's not true, and that you can continue to fail forward and make dumb choices and learn and move forward for the rest of your life?
Well, I mean, yeah, I was going to say, like, some people, like, when I went to Juvie, I came out of it and I flipped everything around.
Yeah.
Like, some people come out of it and they still go towards that end. They still go towards, like, the darker side of things.
Mm-hmm. So it's just hard to say.
Yeah.
Fair enough. I think it's, in my perspective at least, it's great to be young and dumb in so many ways. And for myself, I think that it's hard because I didn't go all the way down that young and dumb path that I necessarily would have wanted to before I decided to grow up. Yeah. And now as somebody who's like, I mean, working full time and married, I'm like, okay, I am like grown up. So, but there are so many aspects of that I'm like, maybe I should have spent a little more time being young and drunk and just stupid and going out and doing the dumb things and like making decisions. And like part of me sometimes regrets that like I didn't do some of those things.
That'll drive me a little bit. Just like wanting to be a kid. Like I don't want to grow up. Like I'm gonna be honest. Like I mean I feel like that's everyone though. Like no one wants to get old.
No one wants to get old, but you also have such a mentality of like I have to work so hard so that by the time I'm 25, like you've been talking about that for more than a year.
Yeah.
So how do you play those two things together?
So
in your perspective.
Like, I've heard from other places it's work to live, and in the America it's live to work. Mm-hmm. Right, so it's like you work for a little bit, and then the rest of your life you're not working. It's not like the U.S. Like that's what I've heard. So I don't know, because I don't travel the world.
Not like that in Canada, but I think in Europe. I've never been, but yeah. I've heard good things.
But it's just like I don't know. And on top of all the fact, like you have social media, everyone has social media, everyone sees it. Like all these people are making like so much money doing like all these other things. Like they're showing like what can be done. Like when you have all this, like I don't know. It's just like boosting. It's like you want it. I don't know. Don't know how to say it.
Do you think that that's like a false fallacy in some ways?
What do you mean?
Like as an 18-year-old, that's been like your very norm. You've seen people posting on social media like that your whole life. That's not
my whole life. It's been recent.
You're more like adult life. Sorry, let's talk about.
Yeah.
But as a business owner yourself now, you understand that even on the days where you have that one contract and you take home that dollar amount because you've invoiced them for it, it wasn't just that one day's worth of work.
Yeah.
It was the work that led up to it. It was the marketing work that you put in that led to the piece of paper that you handed the man the day that you were out, when you were cold calling, and then you followed up, and then you had this, and then you had that, and then you got the deal. Yeah. And so there's so many pieces that lead to that. And I think as kids, because if I can call myself that, like just maybe we are still children.
Yeah.
Like as kids, we look at that and we're like, oh my gosh, these people are making so much money. That's so cool. But then also we can come into it from a different perspective and say, well, I'm just starting to understand that that is probably not exactly how they're portraying it to be.
Yeah.
So is it hard for you as like a young Gen Z entrepreneur to see those things across those platforms? Are you like, I suck, I'm not good enough? Or does it give you like a fire internally to be like, I can do that. I can do that too.
I mean,
how does that like change your...
Like there's going to be obstacles on the way up. Like it's not going to be a perfect path. Mm-hmm. So it's like you have to pull back to go back up.
Yeah.
You know?
Yeah. Yeah, that's true. You have to pull back to go back up.
Yeah.
Sometimes you have to take a step back before you can take 2 steps forward. Yeah, I like that. Well, with that, we'll call it a wrap. Thank you for joining me.
You're welcome.